Rebel Luxury.
Hey Rebels, welcome back to Rebel Luxury Living, where we ditch the wallet draining hype for high value hacks. You've probably heard that Apple just dropped new AirPods. A never-ending cycle of refinement for a disposable gadget that dies when its batteries fade. But what if we flip the script? Let's explore the other end of the spectrum. A wired classic, so timeless that it has gone unchanged for over 40 years. Meet the Koss PortaPros, 80s titanium driver legends for under $30, built to outlast the throwaways. Pair them with a FIIO KA15 DAC and we'll tame those quirky high-frequency spikes and turn them into high-rest-worthy beasts for the same asking price as a base pair of AirPods. A quick heads up. Koss is not perfect. They've got versions that don't have the original titanium drivers, most notably the black edition with the inline mic. These are plastic drivers. So they have the same big punch in the bass region, but they have much softer highs, more rounded and agreeable out of the box. Great if you want plug-and-play ease. I think if you just stick to the sound out of the box, these may be better suited for you, but if you love hi-fi and don't mind having to do a few hacks, it's the OGs that you really want. So I think these really are your ride. And that's the focus of our video today. Parenthesis. This is our summer office. The desk gets dragged out every morning to this leafy balcony and it gets hauled in at night so that the rain doesn't fry the keyboard and the computer. So it takes a little bit of work. And if you ask me, is it worth it? Of course, I'm spending 10 hours a day in the outdoors while I work. And this is very much like wired headphones and a DAC. It takes a bit of work. But that extra bit of work pays off all day. Okay, so the proposition here is that for the same price of some base AirPods, you are able to purchase some Koss PortaPros for a little under $30. And on a good day, you are able to purchase this dongle DAC by FIIO, the KA15, for $99. And well, regular price is $109, but you can always wait around until it drops to that price. So you have a grand total, which is basically, for these two units, the same price as a pair of AirPods. Now, what I'm saying here, above all, is that when you purchase this, you are not purchasing something that is throwaway. These are basically designed to last you a good many years. And there's a great vibrant community of people that sell upgrades and sell spares. You can buy ear cups of different sizes and colors, and you can get upgraded connections and cables. It's fun. And I'm sure that there's so many people that like these, that these are just going to be around for a long time and you're going to be able to service them. And I mean, this is really at an absolute steal of a price. So in the case of the dongle DAC, I'm pretty sure this is going to last a long time because there's no batteries or anything of that sort to really worry about. And this seems to be a pretty well-built unit. It comes with a protective case. It has really good measurements. If you go and look at something like Audio Science Review, it measures very well, just for a DAC, not only for a portable DAC. And the genuine superpower of this is its ability to EQ and basically get rid of issues with these guys. So on the next section, I will show you how to go into the FIIO site, execute the web application, and do a correction for these headphones. Now, just for you to understand what this does, it's basically the same function as one of these normal dongles. What it does, it's most units today don't have an analog output, so basically they take a digital signal and make it into an analog signal in order to be able to connect the plug of your headphones. And don't be fooled, there is basically no such thing as a digital signal that gets to your ears. It's always gets transformed into an analog signal, into an alternating current that basically pushes the driver at a set frequency back and forth, and that generates the sound that you hear. So this is a very critical part where you transform that digital music into an analog output. And this is technically a lot more competent than one of these. Now, that may not yield a great deal of bettering performance if you're just using this without EQ, and particularly in the street where you have a lot of noise, maybe the additional lower noise floor of this guy and dynamic range may not make any difference when you're in a very noisy environment like the street. But where it does make a huge difference is to be able to internally adjust the frequency output and to have that sort of additional power in the amplifier section to be able to not clip perhaps the amplification, particularly of the bass compensation, and to be able to get a much cleaner signal and to finally generate a better all-round response. So let's also talk about a bit how these guys sound. Now, I did quite a bit of testing. I listened a long, hard while without any sort of EQ. I listened to quite a few albums. I walked in the street, and they are okay. They're like a little forward. They do have great transient response, meaning that they have sort of a start-stop that is very good. So particularly when you're hearing drum beats, that sort of initial thud, it is very well defined by these. That definitely they hit way above their weight, and that is really great. The other thing is, it feels like they're always in transparency mode. They It's almost like you had nothing around your head. They're 70 grams. They, for me at least, they don't generate a lot of pressure around my ears, and I can pretty much hear everything that's going on, and that's really comfortable. Either when you're at the house or when you're in the street, you are aware of other things that are going on. It's like having just regular loudspeakers kind of going off close to you, but you can still pick up on all the noise that's there. For some, that may be terrible. For me, it's pretty good. So if you have a Android device, you're able to just download the great app that FIIO has and just manage the unit directly. You are in no means able to actually change the EQ settings directly in the unit, even though it does have a screen. You do have to use software. For iOS users, unfortunately, there is no way to do it. Absolutely no way. You have to go to a PC or a Mac and do this in a browser. So for those people, get yourself to FIIOcontrol.FIIO.com equalizer custom, and you will be greeted with this screen. Connect your FIIO KA15 to your USB and press connect. Over here, you'll see that the FIIO KA15 is one of the devices that is supported. You just push connect, and you choose the FIIO KA15 and connect again. So now we are connected to our dongle DAC. And the first thing to do before we start fiddling about with EQ setting is go to devices. And what you'll see here is that you have these blocks. Now, these blocks you are able to change the name of 3, the ones that you have the pen next to them, and those are the ones that are user selectable. So first things first, we will go in here and we will change the name of this guy for our first EQ setting, and now we'll call this one ASR, which stands for Audio Science Review, and P Pro. And you will see now what I'm talking about. So we have renamed this one as ASR P Pro. When you go to Audio Science Review and you look for the review of the PortaPros, this is a great site that has access to really expensive equipment, and they will do measurement of audio equipment and get what should be very precise information on your, in this case, headphones. And they'll be able to tell you, in this case, what we're looking for is this, which is basically how do these headphones deviate from a perfect frequency response. And they deviate by quite a bit, particularly in the upper frequencies. And these two very large valleys and sort of those humps are the ones that we have to get rid of and sort of flatten out, because that is kind of in a critical area. And the other thing we will be doing as well here is flattening out this section here and pumping up a bit of the sub-bass area. And the great thing about that is that the very dedicated people here will actually do this for you and give you all the information that you need right here. So this is a parametric equalizer system, meaning that you have a frequency, you have the amount that you're going to change that frequency, in this case by 7.8 dBs at 21 Hertz, and Q just basically means how steep that curve is or how flat that curve is on each of the different frequencies. So by looking at this, you kind of want to go back to FIIO control. And now that we have chosen this one, we will go in and through the power of synthesis, I will quickly fill out all the parameters over here while you see fast forward video. Okay, so I have already revised all this. I had made some mistakes while copying from one place to another. And this is the adjusted curve or compensation curve that is recommended by Audio Science Review for the Koss PortaPros. So what we do now is simply save this. So we have to come here to the upper part next to EQ switch, and we put save. it tells where we want to save to the device, and we put confirm. So now this device has uploaded the ASR P Pro profile. Having already loaded the EQ parameters into the FIIO, this will be the second thing you'll have to do, which is basically activate it within the menu. Before we do that, let's just have a quick look at the unit itself. So you get a small screen with the animation of a small cassette. You have 3 buttons and you have a toggle switch. Now, before we go and talk about what each one of those buttons do, I'll tell you that the unit does come with a USB-C to USB-C cable. It is important for older iPhone users to say that this unit is compatible with Lightning. You just have to be absolutely sure that you get either one of these adapters that clearly states that it is for headphones and for microphones, or get a dedicated cable that says the same thing, that you're able to go from USB-C to audio. The other relevant thing to take into consideration is that if you add one of these adapters, honestly, the unit is not very practical for portable use, because this just leverages a bit too much and it's always kind of turning off and you're having to adjust. So if you are going to use this for true portability and you have an older iPhone, just get a normal cable that goes from Lightning to USB-C. Just make sure that cable is for audio usage, because just a regular cable of USB-C to Lightning that doesn't have the right chip or whatever inside will not work, but these ones do. Okay, so we'll leave that aside for a second and we'll come back to this. So we have 3 buttons here. You have one multifunction button, which if you have the unit connected to whatever streaming service you have on your phone or your tablet, you just do one single short click and that will be play, and you will get the animation of the tape rolling. And if it's playing, same thing, short press on the first and you get stop. Over here you have a volume control. A little strange that it feels the wrong way around. This feels like that should be plus and this should be minus, and it's not. And then very interesting, you have a toggle switch. If the toggle switch is to the right, this unit basically is on a kind of power optimizing mode for low power usage, so that it can be run with mobile phones that just don't generate that much power. If you move the toggle switch to the right, you go into a desktop mode, meaning that the unit's drawing more power, and what that does in a practical terms is that you get more power from the headphone amplifier. All right, so doing a long press on the multifunction, you go into the menu. The first item in the menu is your reconstruction filter. Personally, that is the one that I prefer. You have quite a few to choose from. The second is the one that interests us the most, which is the EQ. And you toggle with the plus minus, and you see that these are the same ones that we would see on the web app of FIIO, and you eventually will reach our ASR Pro, which is our EQ setting, and now we are ready to go by doing a long press. I'm sorry, didn't do a long press there. There we are. So now the EQ that we've set is ready to roll here. After doing a fair bit of listening, I can safely say that this is a pretty good combination. These are not overly powerful. This is not for somebody that likes to listen very, very loud. And there's also some limitation in terms of dynamics, particularly as you get louder. It is for somebody that listens at reasonable volumes. There has great spatial cues. I find that the transients, so in other words, the start-stop, is absolutely great. And it does have a wonderful, very rounded bass. I find that it's a good all-round performer. I think it does lean a little more towards a great headphone for more natural recording. So it's great if you're a little more into jazz, but it does very well as well with something like prog rock and even, I would say, more subtle electronica. I think it does really, really great. So I would highly recommend this combination that you know it's going to last you a pretty long time, as opposed to buying throwaway in-ear monitors.